We're gonna be at Grandma's house for a little bit.
Good night.
Nothing's gonna bother us. Not anymore. We have our son back. We are a family again.
Still happening.
What is?
Tell us, what does she want?
I heard voices in the hallway. Is there something wrong with Daddy, Mom?
Whatever it was that was haunting my family, it's not done with us.
I know what happened. I went into that place to get our son back, and something evil followed me. Get out of my head!
There's someone standing in front of you. He's talking to you.
What's he saying?
He's got your baby. 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 He's got your baby.
I'm going to watch 30 movies, a movie each day in June. Day 22 of year 8 of movie month, and the podcast will start soon. He's going to watch 30 movies, some good films and some lowbrow. Year 8 of fans, not experts, movie month, and the podcast starts right now. Year 8 of movie month, that much you already know. Year 8 of movie month, and now it's time for the show.
Welcome back to Movie Month, everybody. Day 22, June 22nd, the 22nd movie. 22nd? 22nd? Yeah, I think that sounds right. 22nd movie. That sounds weird. That I've watched in 22 consecutive days. Where today, I watched from 2013, Insidious Chapter 2. 2013, the same year that James Wan also directed with Patrick Wilson, the original Conjuring. So we're finally kind of caught up with the Conjuring movies, and I'm not completely sure if this is the end of the quote-unquote Lambert story of Insidious because I know in the third one it's a prequel. That's all I know, and I know that it was directed also by that guy Lee Wennell, who wrote the first two and is from Saw and is like James Wan's partner in movie making. But I said, you know what? There's 4 Insidious movies. I can't watch. I can and will watch them all, but I will not watch them all this year. I have too many other movies that I want to get to, but I did. After watching the first one, I said, okay, I at least have to see how the second one ends. Then you watch the end of the second one, and you're like, do I need to see what happens? I need to see what happens in the second one, I should have said. But then I'm like, do I need to see what happens in the third one after? No, I do not. I think, I thought maybe the end of the second one was setting up the sequel to, the third installment. But it, in fact, isn't. I think it's just kind of leading people into, the future of some of the characters. But Insidious Chapter 2, this movie didn't, the first one didn't, grab me as much as the Conjuring movies and wanting to get into the Conjuring world with all the side movies and everything. This first one, though, I enjoyed. It was, pretty basic, nothing crazy, just kind of your, run-of-the-mill ghost story that also added some sort of sci-fi supernaturalism to it because of the... what do they call it? The astro projection. But it was enjoyable enough to me. And the way it ended with, spoilers abound. This is an 8-year-old and a 11-year-old movie. So deal with it. The way it ended where Josh Lambert, I remember his name now, basically was possessed by that old lady bride-looking thing, and then grabs Rose Byrne, turns around, and she's like, oh, and that's how it ends. I had to watch the second one. And here I am. I had to do it. Chris, I had to do it. And here we are for another PG-13 movie because, again, there's not a ton of violence, not a lot of violence, barely any blood, if any. There's some action violence, but no gore. Just a lot of spooky people in pale makeup. And this picked up exactly where the first one left off. It looks like, I'm just looking at the poster, it opened on Friday the 13th, 2013, woo, which I believe was Friday on the 13th. I'm not sure exactly what month it came out. October seems like it should have been, but maybe they just waited for a Friday the 13th to kind of, push the movie out there. They want to put a horror movie out on the Friday the 13th, or they want to put a horror movie out in October. But everyone's back. The whole gang's back. Patrick Wilson, Rose Byrne, Robert Hershey, Lee Wennell, and the other Australian guy. The 2 kids are the same. I don't know if they're a little older, you can barely tell. And then we also have Steve Coulter as Carl. Well, he cleans up. They made him look disheveled and old, but do I know this guy from anything? And the answer is no. He's been in things I've seen him. He's been in things I've seen him in. So I've obviously seen him before. But in fact, he was in The Conjuring. You got to be kidding me. He was the priest in The Conjuring? Oh, then I have seen this guy plenty before. I didn't even realize that. Oh, James Wan. I love when directors bring back actors to work with. So let's talk about the movie, shall we? As I said, everyone's back. This is a direct sequel to, of course, the last one. So it's the same story. We kind of get the backstory of the ghost that was haunting Josh Lambert all this time. And from my understanding now, I'm going to spoil the hell out of this. Josh never made it back from the further. I almost call it the nether regions, but that sounds dirty. He never made it back from the further, if that's right. Isn't that what they call it? In fact, the ghost haunted him and is inside him now. And I guess he's there to kill the family. I'm not sure exactly the kind of the reason behind what the ghost man is doing. I don't know it. I don't understand it. We get some back in time stuff. We get, and I'm almost positive that the woman who played young Elise the voiceover was done by Lin Shaye again, which took me out of it a little because I felt like this young woman had like Lin Shaye's voice was a little like older sounding. You know, it just sounded a little too mature for this younger woman. And yes, I checked the IMDb trivia, and it says that yes, the younger version of Elise was completely dubbed over because Lynn has such a distinct voice. Yeah, it's almost too distinct. Like I don't think Lynn sounded like Lynn in the when she was 30 years ago. But it says the UK trailer shows footage of her actual voice. I'd be interested to hear that, just to hear the difference. Because it was like, hey, everybody, I'm a young lady. Let's get the ghost out of the boy. Okay, so this movie, it got a bad, like it's got, a 30-something% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which the first one got double that. But yet, I'm like, is this half as good as the first one? I don't know. We got a lot of ghosts, a lot of cool ghosts, and we got one of my favorite little tropes that when it happened, I was like, oh, yes, because I love this kind of stuff. When you see something, and then later on, you see what was causing it, the other side of it, and what we see, it was really well done because the thing that we saw originally was in the first movie. In the first Insidious, there's something knocking at the door and something bursting through the door and causing alarms to go off, and we see Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne kind of running around dealing with it. In the sequel, we see that Patrick Wilson is caught in this further, and he travels back to the specific time, and he causes all the stuff to happen. I just love that kind of stuff. Is it kind of, I don't know, I don't think it's cheap. I don't know what, is it too nerdy? I don't know. I don't care. I literally went, oh, yes, when it happened. I wanted to see more of it. I wanted to have Patrick Wilson be the explanation of lots of things that happened because he went back. There was a cool moment where they see something in an old VHS of young Josh, and it is older Josh because we see later he travels back at the beginning, blah, 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 blah. But here's the story, from my understanding. So the kid can astral project, right? We get him going to a hospital. His mother works at a hospital, and Barbara Hershey, she's younger. She goes to the hospital and deals with this this patient, and the kid is kind of looking around while the patient's lying there, and all of a sudden the patient tries to attack him. They walk out of the hospital like, oh, so sorry I had to deal with that, Josh. Later on, she goes to leave her shift, and the patient gets in the elevator. She's like, hey, you shouldn't be in here, Parker. You should be back in your room. And he kind of wanders off, and she goes downstairs to a nurse and says, this Parker guy, he can't lose. No, I'm just kidding. This Parker guy, he shouldn't be wandering. He should be back in his room. And the nurse goes, what do you mean? Parker died yesterday. He jumped to his death. Well, it was a ghost. Which, once she started asking about him, I was like, ooh, he wasn't there, was he? Turns out that here's the whole thing. So we find out that this Parker guy, they go to his house, his abandoned house, which was so abandoned that they never found the secret room filled with all the corpses. Yes, it was filled with these corpses, all covered in sheets, all set up ritualistically, I believe is the word. And we don't, we find all that bride stuff there on a mannequin, and it turns out that this bride of black, they called it, was like a serial killer that people, I think someone got away and tried to, described what it was. So this Parker, he wasn't possessed by the bride, right? The whole thing was his ghost. His ghost is evil. He is evil, and he was raised by an evil mother. And the ghost of inside Patrick Wilson is not some crazy old woman. It's this guy Parker. It's the actual old man. Before he wasn't quite as old then, basically dressed in drag, killing people. Now he's inside Patrick Wilson to kill the family. To, I guess, I don't know why. Maybe it's still to get the boy. I don't know. But it was the lipstick face demon. I learned that's what they call him. The one that looked like Darth Maul in the first one, who wanted to get into the boy and possess him. This time it's a simple ghost and a ghost mother, and it was, really like dolled up, over the top, pancakes, makeup. But it was creepy enough, and the actress playing her was creepy and very screamy. And we see her haunting the house. We see her slapping around Rose Byrne. There was good little moments where I go, oop, and I rewinded 10 seconds to see them go by, and you see this body like standing there. And I was wondering if the child at the first one playing around was this Parker guy, but he wasn't. So later on, the two Australians are checking this house out with this guy Carl, who we see is like another medium who basically uses Yahtzee dice. He shakes them up in a little cup and uses them like a Ouija board to talk to evil spirits that lead them to this house. They think they're talking to Lynn, but they're actually talking to the Parker Ghost Boy's ghost mother. They see this little girl in the room, but it turns out this little girl was actually Parker. The mother says, "You're not a girl." He basically dressed him up as a girl, and he screamed at him if he, tried to be a boy. He made some art and said his name was Parker. She slapped him around and screamed at him and said, "Your name is Mary Lou," or something like that. Excuse me. And I had a long day. Remember Connecticut? Yeah, that happened. So wait. I literally just finished this movie. So Parker, as a boy, gets screamed at by his mother. Then we find out all about this because Patrick Wilson's in the ghost realm. That guy Carl, we think, gets killed. He's in the ghost realm. The farther, whatever. And they find Lynn Shay in there. She's like, "Hey, I've been here," and she's fighting. She helps fight off the ghost from one of the ghosts from the first one who tried to steal the baby, Kaylee. At some points, I think it's Kelly. Sometimes I think it's Kaylee. I don't know. But that's when they find Lynn Shay, and she's like, "Come on, let's go let's go find some answers." I don't know. Then they I don't know how they go from house to house. I don't really care. They go through a red door in the basement. I guess it's the same red door that the son saw. And then they look for the woman, and then they need to end her, which would break the connection that the grown-up Parker has for Patrick Wilson. It sounds ridiculous when I say it. There's a lot going on. Not all of it makes sense. Not all of it's great. There were that great moment where we relive things from different angles. They did something like that with the Annabelle movies where it wasn't like different angles or anything, but what you saw in one Annabelle movie, you saw basically what led to that exact moment in another Annabelle movie, which I loved. Again, I thought that was great. Not that these movies are like great cinema, but that was great. And again, I enjoyed the way they did that with this. I wish there was more of it. So while this is all going on, we get basically some Shining stuff where the kids were with the babysitters all day. But Barbara Hershey got the daughter with someone else. So Patrick Wilson goes cuckoo. He almost kills this guy Carl. The two Aussie guys, even though they're not Australian in this movie, the two comic relief guys, the writer being one of them, they try to save this guy. One of them gets knocked out. The other one gets stabbed with a syringe with some I almost said laxative. I know that's not right, but a sedative. If it was a laxative, it would have been funny. A sedative where they were supposed to use it on Patrick Wilson's character, but instead Patrick Wilson got the one up on them, or I guess it was Parker inside Josh Lambert's body. They had a code word where they're like, "Look, if anything goes down, you say quesadilla." I feel bad when I write something in my head that I think is funnier if it's going for comic relief. I feel like when they open the door, this guy Carl sees Patrick Wilson right away. He's like, "Huh, how you doing? Do you have a good recipe for quesadillas?" I feel like he should have said it right away because he was freaked out. But that's me saying this where I realized that, this guy has been dealing with ghosts for a long time. So Patrick Wilson starts going Shining on his family. The kids get home. They find dad choking mom. They knock dad in the head with a bat. So they run down in the basement, and all of a sudden he's got a bat. He's not going to hurt them, but he's just going to bash their brains in. They lock themselves in the basement, and then something kind of dumb happens where the son goes, Mom, I can go find him. And she's like, isn't this what got us in the trouble in the first place? He goes, I can. Let me just go to sleep. So he goes, sits down in the corner and goes, I am asleep now. And then he just falls asleep. Maybe because he's got magic powers, he can do that. I don't know. He goes into the nether regions. I know that's not what it's called. And finds Dear Dad. But no, he doesn't find Dear Dad. Actually, he has nothing to do with it. Lin Shaye finds the Parker boy, the ghost of the boy of the killer, and says, you must let me into this room. Otherwise, she'll kill Josh. You must let me in and stop them. Meanwhile, Josh gets into the room, sees his son, pushes Roseburn out of the way, sees his son lying on the ground, takes a bat or the back of a hammer, and he's about to cleave his son and cleave him to death and bash his brains in. But instead, Lin Shaye in the dream world picks up a rocking horse and hits the ghoul, the ghost, on the head, knocking her out, which somehow frees Josh. And he's like, "It's me, I'm back." And the kid wakes up, and we're back. And the Roseburn doesn't quite believe it, but then he's like, I was there. I was trying to connect to you. It really is me. And the kid believes it because he knows he was there. Oh, Josh runs out into the further, the upside down, whatever you want to call it, with Carl, because Carl's not dead. Even though we don't see Carl come back to life, I don't think. But they run and they're like, how do we get back? And you see all these ghouls around them, and that's the cool visual, is it's all black and you see these like white-faced ghosts come out of nowhere, and they have a lantern, and then all of a sudden you hear Josh's, the kid's voice, Holden? They have cool names, Holden and Foster, I believe, are the names. I'm like, those are, Holden Foster sounds like he wrote novels in the 60s, and he wrote some really beautiful books, Holden Foster. So they, he wakes up, they find the kid. The kid's like, hey, I have a string that I tied, because they had this cannon string thing he was doing with his brother, and they use the string to get back to their bodies. They wake up, everyone's good. Roseburn finally believes them, and boom, they're happy. And then the next day, Carl's there. That's right, Carl's alive the next day, and he's like, all right, I'm going to, give you these ticking, we're going to do this memory thing and block all this memory so you guys don't remember this. You guys don't know how to get to the further. You don't know how to astral project anymore. You'll forget all about this, because if you forget about this, they won't come and find you. And they won't come snooping around your house anymore. I guess if there's no connection, they can't do it, I suppose. So they zoom in on Patrick Wilson's face, and you're waiting for something bad to happen. You're waiting for him to smile or snicker or something. And it just fades to white, and you realize it. And then I thought it was just going to say directed by James Wan and be the end. But then it pans down, and it's a house, and we see our comic relief guys, the two investigators who were the assistants of Lin Shaye. They show up at this house because they said, we know someone who has answers about your daughter. There wasn't an accident. They're like, what are you talking about? This is a cruel joke. And then the little girl goes, who is the woman behind you? And Lin Shaye's there. She's a ghost. She's like, shh, be quiet. I'm going to go in and sneak up on your sister. And she's like, they believe there's some, maleficent creature, and they're all in the house. So Lin Shaye goes and talks to this girl in the wheelchair and tries to get through to her, and then looks up behind the girl, and we don't see anything, and her eyes open in horror, and she goes, oh my God. Boom, the end. So I immediately went to check to see if part 3 was a sequel to that. It is not. It is a prequel, which is how you can bring back Lin Shaye, and you can bring back at least the writer, or I don't know if he wrote it, but he directed it. He's the writer of this one. He's the director of the next one. Probably just took over the whole franchise, but I think James Wan produces it, so I'm sure they kind of work together to continue Chapter 3, and then Chapter 4, I guess, is the last key. You're not going to find that this year on Movie Month, folks. You will find it in future, future years. I'm sure 2022 will see those two. And then apparently, as I said before, there is going to be a Part 5, and maybe Patrick Wilson is attached to direct. I don't like seeing Patrick Wilson mean. I like seeing him fight ghosts and demons, but being wholesome and nice, even if that's not really what Ed and Lorraine Warren are. They are to me. In the cinema world, that's who they are. And I like it a lot. But yeah, these movies, they're not as good as The Conjuring, but they do have a fun aspect to them. Those two guys, comic relief, are fun. There was some just the James Wan knows how to make creepy angles and take sweeping camera shots and kind of move the camera left. I mean, it's not like it's rocket science, but it is a well done kind of thing. And these guys aren't the I was gonna say Paranormal Activity guys. No, these are the Saw guys. I don't know. I get confused by that. And then there's this. See, I never saw Dead Silence. I'm just quickly looking at James Wan directed movies, and like, oh, I didn't see Dead Silence. I did, of course. I saw Aquaman. What are you, crazy? And he's doing Aquaman 2 now. So I wonder if he's going to go back to horror someday. I'm sure he will. Oh my God, he's producing a Knight Rider movie. He directed something called Malignant, which is not an original horror thriller. That's all there is about it. I'm interested to see what that's about. But anyway, I am really getting off track here. I should be talking about Insidious Chapter 2. I think I went through everything. Again, as I was saying about James Wan, he does just some cool little things with the camera tricks and someone's in the corner. They did a thing where, you see this closet open up and you're like, okay, something's in there. But then something rushes out really quick. And like all of a sudden tons of ghosts jump out. And it's like it's not like it's rocket science. It's not like it's changing the media or the medium in any way, but it is effective as far as making spooky ghouls. So I think I'm done talking about Insidious Chapter 2, and I'm done talking about Insidious for the rest of this movie month. There will be no further Insidious talk this year, but there will be in future years. But that's it, my friends. I'm done. As I said to you over the last couple days, I went to Connecticut. You heard yesterday's episode, and I was up again so early. I had this episode out, I think, before 8 a.m. Went to Connecticut, drove 2 hours to Mystic, Connecticut. We went to the aquarium. We had a great time. Literally, the aquarium was right across from our hotel. We could have walked over there. We could have parked at the hotel, walked to the aquarium and back. We parked at the aquarium, then we drove to the hotel. Then we went over to this little shop it was called Old Mystic Village. They had a magic shop. Basically it was Harry Potter and that kind of stuff. You can get magic wands and cloaks, and they had spooky dolls. I thought maybe they'd have an Annabelle doll. They did not. There's a toy store with old toys, like not even old toys, but just kind of old-fashioned toys. There was a sunglass store. Oh, yeah, my wife got sunglasses. All kinds of stuff. It was just this place called Old Mystic Village. And then we stayed at the hotel. And when I tell you, folks, it's 9:11 p.m. right now. I fell asleep last night. I don't even want to say last night. I fell asleep at 7:30 p.m. So I was like, all right, let's rest our eyes. And we had a long day. And I had a long day because of movie month. I was like, you know what? And my wife was like, oh, she's going to fall asleep early. And I said, you know what? I can still see light glimmering through the window. I said, you know what? I'll lie here for a few minutes. My eyes, it's one of those things where I felt like a cartoon where my eyes were wide open. I said, I'm not going to fall asleep. I'll take out my Kindle, read a little book. Maybe I'll pull out my phone and watch something online. But there's no way I'm going to... Next thing I know, it's like 5:30 in the morning. I'm like, what? I did it. And then I fell back asleep again. I mean, I slept for, I don't want to say 12 hours, but it felt close to that. It was tremendous. Like, no dog waking me up. No dog is needing to go out. Like, there's no way I could fall asleep at 7:30 at home. It's just impossible. Mind you, my dog was like perfect for my parents. I think my parents took the dog out at like 8 o'clock, and then she jumped on the couch and didn't bother my dad for the rest of the night. Glorious. She sees me. She wants to wrestle with me and jump all over me. She's chill right now, so everything's good there. But there's no way I'm just going to fall asleep without taking her out one more time. It's incredible. That she's perfect. Perfect. Perfect for everyone. And she's a wild animal for me. But that's it, my friends. I'm rambling now. We got up this morning, had a little breakfast, hit the shops one more time, and got the hell out of Connecticut. Boom, back home, ready to watch my movie. I watched about 60% of it, and my dog said, nope, you need to go for a walk. I said, okay, we'll go for a walk. And here we are. Here we are. Insidious Chapter 2. I enjoyed it. It was not great, but I liked that it just kind of did. Let's add a ton of ghosts. No demons, just ghosts with little silliness to it. But of course, these movies have to have some silliness to it. The kid falling asleep, saying, "I'm going to fall asleep and catch Dad." You know, a little ridiculous. That's fine. I don't care. It's still tough seeing Patrick Wilson in a scary movie with a different wife. I feel dirty thinking about it. That's it. I'm done. Listen, you know where to find me, right? On Twitter and Instagram, it's Geek Mentality. The Facebook page is Fans Not Experts. The website is simply fansnotexperts.com. You should try clicking on it once in a while. I mean, nobody else does. Maybe you could give it a try. Maybe they'll find something there you like more than this. Maybe not. Maybe I'm exactly what you want, exactly what you need. Can you tell I have nothing left to say and I'm just rambling? It's not like I'm killing for time. I could have finished this 5 minutes ago. It's just sometimes my voice just keeps going. My mouth just goes blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, another 5 minutes went by and it's all nothing. You could have stopped 5 minutes ago. Oh, wait. You're still here? Okay. Well, let's do this together. 1, 2, 3. Here is my theme song. This is my podcast. I made it. Geek Mentality is what I named it. And I think you should listen and subscribe. Cause I'm kinda funny and awesome. I think that I'm worth your time. And I'm kinda handsome. My mom says, please listen and please subscribe. At least listen to this episode.
Fans Not Experts.